Assalamualaikum and hi everyone, we are from Group 6 and we will present our case review of Muhammad Hafiz bin Hamidun and Kamda Syrian Berhad. Let's start by discussing the court establishment and constitution for this case, specifically the High Court. Let's start with the establishment of the High Court. The High Court is established under Article 121 Clause 1 of the Federal Constitution. There are two High Courts in Malaysia, the High Courts in Malaya and the High Court in Sabah and Sarawak. According to Article 122AA, these courts are headed by a Chief Judge and not less than 4 other judges, with up to 47 judges in the High Courts of Malaya and up to 2 judges in the High Courts of Sabah and Sarawak. Additionally, Section 18 Clause 1 of the Courts of Judicature Act 1964 stipulates that every proceeding in the High Court will be heard and disposed of before a single judge. In the case of Muhammad Hafiz bin Hamidun and Kamda Syrian Berhad, a legal dispute emerged in 2023. The plaintiff, Muhammad Hafiz bin Hamidun, alleged the Kamda Syrian Berhad used his name and similar variations, Hafiz Hamidun and Hafiz Hamidun, in relation to their products. The case was built upon the principle of the common law tort of passing off, which protects an individual or business reputation from false representation by another party. Now, let's move to the constitution governing the courts. According to Article 121 Clause 1 of the Federal Constitution, courts, including the federal courts, are granted judicial power. Section 3 of the Courts of Judicature Act 1964 outlines the jurisdiction and powers of the federal court. This case went through 3 levels within the Malaysian judicial system: the High Courts, the Court of Appeal, and the Federal Court. Initially, the High Court ruled in favor of Hafiz Hamidun. However, the Court of Appeal later overturned this decision in accordance with Article 121 Clause 1B of the Federal Constitution, which grants it the authority to review and reverse ruling made by the High Courts. Ultimately, the Federal Court, the highest court in Malaysia, upheld the High Court's decision after the final appeal. The jurisdiction and functions of the federal courts are further elaborated in the Courts of Judicature Act 1964. Thus, this hierarchical process demonstrates the thorough judicial review conducted to settle the dispute and uphold the principle of passing off in Malaysia's law. That's all for my part. Thank you.
For the composition part, the High Court Judge is Muhammad Razzi Harun. According to Courts of Judicature Act 1964, Act 91, every proceeding in the High Court and all business arising thereout shall, save as provided by any written law, be heard and disposed of before a single judge. For jurisdiction, this case was heard in the High Court of Kuala Lumpur, which is located in Malaysia. According to Section 23, Subsection 1 of the Courts Judicature Act 1964, High Court of Kuala Lumpur has the jurisdiction to hear the matter since the defendant's place of business is based in Kuala Lumpur. Also, Section 28, Subsection 1 of the Courts of Judicature Act 1964 states that a High Court has no limit on damages it can award. However, no civil appeal may be brought to the High Court if the quantum of the case is less than 10,000 ringgit.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is SITI BINTI ABDULLAH MADANI 073782. So I will explain about the fact of cases and the issues in Hafiz Hamidun and Kamda Syrian Berhad's cases. The fact of Hafiz and Kamda, which Hafiz has made an allegation on a posting from Kamda which is such a slander to Hafiz Hamidun. It was a misleading information and tarnished Hafiz's reputation because Kamda was using the names Hafiz Hamidun in creating their own brands. So Hafiz takes a legal action based on that issues as he filed a defamation lawsuit against Kamda. Both of parties goes to court proceedings which Hafiz provide evidence to support claims of defamation in order to clear his names. For the judgment, Hafiz was awarded lawsuit 200,000 by the court as a compensate to his reputation that has been tarnished before this. Next is the issues that has been disputes in court between Hafiz Hamidun versus Kamdar Sendiri Berhad is about the damages, loss of goodwill, and the defamation, which Hafiz as an owner of business. So the issues is Hafiz had asked for a compensation of his brand that tarnished and reputation down with which he asked for a large amount from the Kamdar as a lawsuit to clear his names to the public. So I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, parties argument. Plaintiff argument. The plaintiff likely argue that the defendant use of the label Hafiz Hamidun was still misleading and damaging to the plaintiff brand and reputation. Next, the plaintiff may have contended that the loss of goodwill and endorsement fee or royalty was a direct result of the defendant passing off actions, and the plaintiff might have emphasized the importance of his celebrity status, personal achievement, and fan base in determining the damages for passing off. Next, defendant's argument. The defendant may have argued that the change from Hafiz Hamidun to Hafiz Hamidun was a sufficient alteration to avoid confusion and passing off. The defendant might have claimed that the damage sought by the plaintiff, particularly the Rm5 million for loss of goodwill, were excessive and not adequately proven.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to all of you. Today I will talk or present about holding in the case. Firstly, in the case of Muhammad Hafiz bin Hamidun v. Kamdar Sendiri Berhad, the federal court held that the defendant's use of the name Hafiz Hamidun and Hafiz Hamidun without consent constitute passing off, as it led the public to believe that there was a connection between the plaintiff, a celebrity singer, and the goods sold by the defendant. The court emphasized that misrepresentation and deceptive use of a celebrity's name for commercial gain are key elements of passing off. Furthermore, the court ruled that the plaintiff as a celebrity had the right to maintain an action in passing off even if another business used his name. The goodwill associated with the name Hafiz Hamidun belonged to the plaintiff, and the defendant's unauthorized use of his unregistered trademark for profit through deception was deemed unlawful. The plaintiff was awarded Rm2,100 for loss of goodwill resulting from the defendant's tortious act of passing off. The federal court set aside the Court of the Appeal's decision and reinstated the High Court decisions to award Rm2,100 for loss of goodwill to the plaintiff. The court applied the formula set in Taiping Poly Sdn Bhd v. Wong Fuk Toh to calculate the plaintiff's loss of the business profit. Considering the diversion of the plaintiff's customers to the defendant due to the misrepresentation of the plaintiff's Hafiz Hamidun mark. Overall, in this case, underscore the significance of protecting a celebrity's name and goodwill from unauthorized use for commercial purpose, emphasizing the principles of passing off and the assessment of damage in such cases. Thank you. Alright, for the rational part, the court ruled in favor of Muhammad Hafiz bin Hamidun, stating that he should receive compensation for the harm caused for his business by Kamdar Sendiri Berhad deceptive action. The court utilized the principle that damage for passing off encompass the decline in business profit due to the redirection of the plaintiff's clientele to the defendant as a consequence of the defendant's misrepresentation. The principal mention of Taiping Poly Sdn Bhd v. Wong Fuk Toh It highlights the importance of the plaintiff providing evidence of the actual loss incurred due to the defendant's action. The court took into account the plaintiff's fame and the size of his fan base, especially by analyzing his Instagram followers. When deciding on the amount of damage to award, the court discussed the adaptability and versatility of goodwill as an asset, especially when it comes to celebrities. In this context, goodwill is created through personal accomplishment and a dedicated fan base. The court also recognized that determining a celebrity's popularity is a complex matter, with no definitive method. However, one acceptable approach is to take into account the number of followers they have on social media platforms such as Instagram.
As a conclusion, firstly is right protection. Celebrities can stop others from using their name without permission. Next, legal action. Celebrities can sue if their name is misused like Hafiz Amido did with Kamda. Next, need for evidence. Clear evidence is needed to support claims in court. Proving damages must be shown and reasonably calculated. Next, celebrity status matter. The level of fame affects the amount of damages awarded. And lastly is a fair compensation. Courts award fair and reasonable compensation like 200,000 ringgit instead of 5 million. Thank you. Syukran jazilan. Ila liqa'i wa ma'assalamah fi amalillah.